Let us talk with Texas Christian head coach Sonny Dykes about what he thinks of the Big 12 and its schedule and what he hopes for the Horned Frogs in 2024. I'm pleased to be joined by TCU head coach Sonny Dykes. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be on. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. I'm excited about 2024 as we're going to embark on a new Big 12. But I want to start by talking about 23. It was a letdown year for you all coming off of national title runner-up finish. What did you learn from that 23 season, and how are you going to use that to try to help you in 24?
Well, we learned that we lost a lot of good players off the 22 team. A lot of guys that, were highly productive for us. If you look at the 22 team, we had a lot of returning production coming back. Lost a good bit of that. Had a lot of juniors that declared early for the draft as well. Some guys that we thought would probably be back and that moved on. And so, it gutted our roster pretty good. And then, we just didn't do a great job coaching, though. Didn't do a great job playing. I think we thought there'd be a little more carryover probably from the year before than there was. Just, playing 15 games and playing for a national championship, you kind of think that there might be some carryover. But the one thing that's different about college football in this day and age is, you lose so much of your team. About half of our players moved on from that squad. And so it's starting over every single year. And I think it's important to understand that as we move forward. And, I think we're determined to certainly improve on our squad we had last year. And I think we're excited and optimistic we're going to be able to do that.
No kidding about starting over, Coach, because we've never been in this era of college football where you can have so much turnover in your roster and your coaching staff and then still be expected to compete. I noticed you got 19 guys that are incoming as transfers. You had a few transfers on that 2022 team that helped you go 13-2. What do you got excited about with this 24 class and those transfers you got coming in?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it creates competition. I think for us, we needed to replace some experience, some guys that we've lost really over the last two seasons. And so, the number one goal for us was let's go out and recruit guys in the transfer portal that have played, guys that have been in college football games, have been successful, have played high at whatever level that they're coming from, and we have guys from all different kinds of programs and all different kinds of levels of football. But the one thing, again, they all have in common is they've all played football and they've all been productive. They've all been good players. They've all been able to produce at the schools that they were at in the past. And I think that's a big thing. They were able to learn. They were able to avoid injuries. They were able to do all the things that you have to do to become a productive player. And so we added all that experience to our team. We also added a lot of athleticism, and I think we created a lot of competition. And the big emphasis for us was really on the offensive line. We needed to get more experienced up front. We needed to get more bodies, and we're excited about the group we have coming in.
One of the things I noticed is Steve Avila was a dude in 22, and you get to see what that means across college football as we're getting into the meat of the schedules and when we get into conference play. I'm curious, though, Coach, knowing the emphasis being on offensive line and knowing that you want to have some competition, how do you feel about this new Big 12 where it feels like it's as thick as it's ever been top to bottom?
Yeah, I think the parity in the league is what I'm excited about. I mean, you look across the league and you say that there's conceivably 6-8 teams that can compete for a conference title, and I think that's what makes this league so great. That's what makes it great in basketball. That's what makes the league great in baseball. That's what's going to make it great in football. Is just the parity that we have. There's every week it's a big game. When you go and you play on the road, it's going to be tough games. It's going to be tough to beat these Big 12 teams on the road in some hostile environments. And then you have to win your home games. I mean, I think that's the one thing that comes into play. You got to win at home, and you got to play well week after week. You can't afford to have a bad game or two. If you do, you're going to look up and you're going to get a loss. And so it's a challenging schedule. As I said, there's no layups on the schedule, and so we know we have to do a great job preparing, getting our guys ready to go play at their very best every week.
I got to believe when you looked at the schedule, you had to call up Brett Yormark and be like, where's Colorado? We need that game on the schedule this year right now. Given what that game meant, especially for Colorado, but also for the sport and how dramatic it was, did you see any fall off or drawbacks to having played that game to start the season last year?
Not really. I mean, we opened with those guys the year before in 2022 and went to Boulder and won a game there. And, bottom line is we didn't play probably as well as we should have, and they came in and played lights out. They really played well early in the season. I think, We weren't quite sure exactly who we were going to see and where we were going to see them. And I think it took teams a little bit of time to get adjusted to Colorado. And I think once they did, they fared better than they did early. I mean, we didn't play well. We certainly didn't play well defensively. We had a chance to win the game at the end of the game on offense, and if we could have strung a drive together, could have tied it and sent it to overtime or won the game potentially. We just weren't able to do it. And if you go and look at our season last year, we lost four one-score games, and the difference in 2022 and 2023 was our ability to win those one-score games. In 22, we were 7-1 in those games, and last year we were 0-4. And so I think in some ways we probably weren't as far off as it looks like, last year, but we didn't do what it took to win. And a big part of that was some inexperience in some key spots. But again, the great thing is those guys are coming back and they'll play better this year.
One of the things that I've always been interested in is who your starting quarterback is going to be, because one way or another, that guy's going to influence the season. You mentioned going down to Boulder and getting the win. Chandler Morris being a big part of that, Max Duggan being perhaps the greatest quarterback in Texas Christian history. And now I'm looking at a guy that I really love that joined your 24 class in Hoss Haney. I wonder, does he have a shot to start for you against Stanford on that Friday night, August 30th?
Yeah, I mean, we think so. I mean, with Josh Hoover's coming back, who played for us last year as a freshman, as a redshirt freshman, and played really well. We were very optimistic about Josh and the growth that he went through last year. But yeah, the one thing that we're always going to do, we're always going to play the best players. And so, we're lucky. We were able to go out and sign a local kid, Hoss Haney, from Aledo High School. He had tremendous success. He's a great athlete. He's kind of the model that we're looking for at the quarterback position in terms of his ability to run the football, throw the football, and obviously lead his team. And so we're excited about him. We also added Ken Seals, who's a transfer from Vanderbilt. It's got 22 SEC starts as well. So we needed to find some experience at that position. But we're excited about that quarterback room. Between those three guys, we're confident that we're going to find a quarterback that, can give us a chance to win a Big-12 championship.
I wonder how much this is going to settle down to your defense coordinator, Andy Avalos, going, hey, that guy gives me a hard time. Maybe that should be the starter. But given that, Andy's one hell of a defensive coach. I mean, thinking about what he did at Oregon, let alone what he did at Boise State, I understand the appeal, but what does he add to Texas Christian that made him the guy for you?
Well, I think the biggest thing, I wanted somebody to be the head coach of the defense. I wanted him to have a plan. I wanted him to have a plan when it came to scheme, how he was going to handle players, recruiting, the whole thing. And Andy's obviously been around very successful programs, playing for Chris Peterson and coaching for him at Boise. He really learned from one of the best in the game. I got a tremendous respect for Chris. And then, going on to Oregon, having the success he had at Oregon, and then, being the head coach at Boise as well. He was the Mountain West Coach of the Year in 2022. So he's a guy that's had success at every level, every place he's ever been in the past. He brings that head coaching experience. He sees the defense from a head coaching perspective, which I think is very important as well. Lots of experience, and he's highly organized, highly motivated. I'm really excited about him. He's a guy that I've watched his career through the years and really admired the way he went about doing things and the success that he's had. And so we were very fortunate, to have a chance to get him hired up.
I'm curious to see him in this Texas footprint because I always tell folks, being from Tulsa, Oklahoma, respect the hell out of high school football in the state of Texas. Even though you're coming up to Muskogee to get one of my guys in the 24 class, I appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah.
Question I had for you, though, was knowing that Andy has had this background of sending guys after the quarterback, do you think that's going to play to your benefit offensively when we talk about playing complementary football as opposed to a read and react sort of 3-3-5?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the biggest thing, change that we felt like we needed to make was we needed to be a little bit more aggressive defensively. Felt like we were sitting back a little too much. And, playing with that 4-down scheme, I think it allows us to go out and recruit elite level pass rushers, and guys that could really get after the quarterback. And, if you look around football, pressure in the quarterback is one of the most important things. The teams that win are the teams that get after the quarterbacks and they create turnovers and put the quarterback in duress. And we didn't do a good job of doing that last year. We didn't create a lot of turnovers. I didn't feel like we we put enough pressure on the quarterback. And so that's something that's obviously going to be a big deal for us moving forward. Something that we're going to prioritize this spring is getting after the quarterback. And then anytime you're doing that defensively, it's good for you offensively to have to face that scheme and all the different blitzes and guys coming from different places and new blitz angles and all the things that are a little bit different going to a 4-down as opposed to a 3-down.
There's no Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12 for the first time this year. I wonder how much of that discourse you've had to encounter in as far as what your fans expect from Texas Christian football going forward in the Big 12.
Well, I think our fans feel like probably 3 or 4 other schools fans feel like, that the Big 12 is open now. That again, Oklahoma, I think, won 16 out of 20 Big 12 championships at one point, and so they had pretty much dominated the Big 12 for a long time. And then obviously Texas had some good teams in there as well. And so, when you sit down, you look at it and you say, well, it's the Big 12 is wide open. And if you look in the last 3 years, there's been 6 different teams playing the conference championship game. And so the league has a lot of parity. There's a lot of teams that feel like that they're ready to compete and take over that, that mantle as the top team in the Big 12. And we certainly feel like we're one of those teams.
I wonder, given what it took for you to get to the college football playoff in 22, how do you feel about this new 12-team format that we're going to in 24?
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense. I really do. I think that you want to reward the conference champions, and I think that's the way to do that is by giving those 4 teams buys. I think that's a good way to do it. And then I think I like the idea of the higher rated teams hosting a game as well. I think that's going to provide a great opportunity for college football to get an extra game at home. I think that's going to be really a great thing. And then it just creates more interest in the game. There's going to be more teams that are vying for those 12 spots than there have been in the past. I think that, a 14 playoff, you look at it historically and it's featured a lot of teams from certain conferences. And I think that this year there'll be a whole new stable of teams that feel like that they can get there. And I think that creates added interest and added following. And anytime that happens, that's a positive thing for college football.
My last one for you, Coach. We're heading up to National Signing Day in February. And again, I got to make reference to all the Texas high school football players that you continue to put through your program. What is it about Texas high school football that makes it so appetizing, not just to Texas universities, but to the nation at all?
Well, it's high school football in the state of Texas is important. I mean, it really is. It's part of the fabric of these communities. The Friday night lights and the ability for these communities to come together on Friday and support their high school team, I think is unique. I mean, it's something that has been special in Texas for a long time. As I said, it's important to these communities for their identity. There's tremendous resources that these football players have. The coaching in the state of Texas is the best there is. The High School Coaches Association in Texas does an unbelievable job of doing everything they can to take care of these young men. And we have fantastic stadiums, fantastic facilities. We have commitment to hiring outstanding coaches in the state. And again, football is just important. And so when you add all that up, you get the best state, I think, for high school football in the country. And we're proud to be right in the middle of it here in DFW.
I am excited about Texas Christian football. I'm excited about Texas high school football, and I'm very much enjoyed my time with you, Sonny Dykes, head coach at TCU. Thank you so much for joining us here on the #1 college football show.
No, I appreciate you having me. It's always good to catch up with you guys, and can't wait to start spring football. It's just right around the corner.
If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.